When Olivia was hospitalized, Jack, as her attending physician, unhesitatingly canceled the trip we had planned. Her surgery is complex. Any complication could be fatal. The trip can wait. Ever since Olivia had reappeared and become his patient, my disappointments had been piling up. I couldn't fault Jack for his professional dedication, nor could I ignore the fact that Olivia was not just any patient, but his old flame. In the end, I boarded the flight to Semporna alone, and I decided to let Jack go. I had been planning this trip for over 6 months, from the weather to the hotels, from the most popular photo spots to hidden gems. I had pored over hundreds of notes and compiled a 15-page PowerPoint. I wasn't about to let all that effort and anticipation go to waste. So when he told me he couldn't go, I couldn't help but have a huge fight with him. Olivia is in the hospital. She's not feeling well. I can't leave at a time like this. Olivia again. His ex-girlfriend from college. 3 months ago, she was diagnosed with a heart condition and immediately flew back to a city to see him. And, from that day on, his life had been in disarray. The night he got her test results, he had stayed up all night in his study, researching, and had even contacted his semi-retired mentor to arrange a multidisciplinary consultation. He had pulled every string, used every bit of his energy, to ensure her surgery was a success. He had even performed the surgery himself. I thought, not only was he a good doctor, but he was also a good ex-boyfriend. Even after the successful surgery, he had spent countless sleepless nights on the balcony, smoking. In the dim light, the tip of his cigarette would glow and fade. He was a man of great self-discipline and rarely smoked. I would stand behind him in my thin nightgown for a long time, and he wouldn't even notice. He personally handled every one of her follow-up appointments. Eat on time, eat more vegetables, exercise moderately, don't stay up late. I saw him messaging her, his instructions meticulous and patient. One call from her, and he would be out the door, leaving a table full of his favorite dishes to grow cold. That was his birthday. I had spent over 3 hours cooking that meal. My hand was even burned from the splattering oil when I made the fried shrimp. A few days later, the burn had blistered, and the pain had brought tears to my eyes. He had frowned as he applied ointment, his voice tinged with a faint helplessness. "Harper, you don't have to do all this. Besides, all that oily, salty food isn't healthy." All these things had finally come to a head. My words were sharp and venomous. Her surgery was 3 months ago, wasn't it? What? Does she have some other illness now? He rubbed his brow, the red veins in his eyes visible. "Harper, do you have to be so heartless? Heart surgery is complex. Any postoperative complication can be fatal. This is not a small matter. We can go on a trip anytime. Are you really going to argue with a sick person?" I laughed. A bitter, angry sound. How could we go anytime? In all the years he had been working, he had taken only a handful of vacations. I had always been understanding, scheduling all our dates around his busy schedule. It was common for him to be called away in the middle of a date. The farthest we had ever gone was to the next city. This 5-day vacation was a gift from his mentor, the hospital director, who had insisted he take a break before our upcoming wedding. He knew how much I was looking forward to this trip. I had excitedly shown him the 15-page PowerPoint, and he had listened quietly, smiling and nodding, saying he would go along with whatever I wanted. Now, he looked at me with tired eyes, his gaze colder than a winter wind. "Don't be difficult, Harper. I'm very tired." My eyes reddened. I dug my nails into my palm. My chest felt like it was on fire, the flames licking at my organs. "Jack, I hope you're this dedicated to all your patients." It was almost March, the air still carrying a winter chill. He didn't come after me. I walked along the river, my nose running, and pulled my coat tighter around me. I wasn't a bad person. I didn't want to speak ill of a sick person. When she was first diagnosed, I had been worried for her too. I knew he was the most renowned cardiothoracic surgeon in a city. With him performing the surgery, her chances were better. Her choice was logical. Nothing is more important than life. So, in the early days of her treatment, when he was overwhelmed with work, I would cook for him whenever I had the chance. He wasn't picky about food, but he would often miss meals, and by the time he got to the cafeteria, there would be nothing left but steamed buns. I wanted him to have a hot meal, no matter the time. When was the first time we had fought over her? It was when I discovered that even after the surgery, he was still in frequent contact with her. I had seen his messages, reminding her to eat, not to engage in strenuous exercise, not to stay up late. Jack, are you taking care of a patient? Or are you taking care of your ex-girlfriend? He had said nothing, just looked at me calmly as I cried and screamed. Finally, when I was exhausted, he had driven me to the hospital. Through the glass, I saw her curled up in bed in a blue and white striped hospital gown. The arm that was exposed was so thin it looked like a stick. The back of her hand bruised and purple from the fall. She was so thin. Her complexion so poor. Her lips so pale. Even in her sleep, her brow was furrowed. She was like a broken doll. I was silent. I had seen her before. She was a vibrant, beautiful woman who could outshine even the elegant Jack. He had handed me his phone, his usually calm and composed face hiding a deep sadness. Harper, I know what I'm doing. No matter who is lying there, I would do everything I could. I just think, she's so young. She deserves to live. You can check my chat history anytime. All my hurt and anger had dissipated. But Jack, did you really keep your word? A recovering Olivia had a lot of medication to take. The usually efficient Jack had revised her prescription again and again. I was surprised. Don't you doctors write prescriptions all the time? Can't she take any of these? He had just given a faint smile. Pharmacology is complex. It wasn't until later, when I was delivering a meal to him and ran into her, that I understood. She had pointed to her phone and said the caregiver was temporarily unavailable, asking if I could get her medication from the pharmacy. I had readily agreed. The old pharmacist had looked at the prescription, then at me. You young girls are so delicate. You can't even take a little bitterness. That won't do. Bitter medicine is good for you. I was confused, but he had just smiled. Look at these pills. They're all sugar-coated, sweet. When you're sick, you have to endure some hardship. Then he had pointed to Jack's signature on the prescription and sighed. Dr. Shin must have put a lot of thought into this. I don't remember what else the old pharmacist had said. I only remember that on the way back, the small bag of medicine in my hand felt as heavy as lead, a suffocating weight on my chest. Jack was the most rational person I knew. I had tried to act cute and complain about bitter medicine before, only to be placated with a piece of chocolate. He had looked at me with a frown, his cool and elegant features making him seem even more distant. Harper, you're not a child anymore. Love is a subconscious act. So, Jack, your heart had already chosen a side. A light rain began to fall by the river. I turned and walked back. When I opened the door, the slippers I had kicked over in my anger had been neatly arranged. On the dining table was a simple meal of 3 dishes and a soup. Jack stood in the living room, silhouetted against the light, watching me. You're back. Dinner is on the table. He spoke calmly, as if I had just gone for a walk. I said nothing. I didn't take the olive branch he had extended, as I usually did. Looking back, every argument we had over Olivia, no matter how intense, had always ended in a stalemate. In other words, all the energy I had expended, all the tears I had shed, were a waste of emotion. He was like a perpetual, rational observer. He would watch me cry, watch me storm out, and then watch me come back and process my own overwhelming emotions. And then we would make up. I suddenly felt it was all so pointless. Harper, he said, probably because I hadn't responded. He walked towards me. I have to go to the hospital in a bit. I lowered my eyes, my voice hoarse as I spoke. Let's break up. He stopped, just a few feet away. The reason? There is no reason. I took a deep breath. Then a malicious smile played on my lips. You said you were tired. Actually, I'm tired too. So, let's just end it. He was silent for a few minutes. I saw a flicker of confusion in his clear, bright eyes. And then, I stared at him, trying to catch any other emotional fluctuation, anger, or sadness, regret. But that was it. He looked at his watch, his tone still calm. I have a surgery at 3, a meeting at 6, and I should be home by 9. Wait for me. I watched him walk past me to the entryway, change his shoes, open and close the door, and stride to the elevator. You see, this is Jack. Even when faced with a breakup, he is calm and composed. No, not always. At least, when he and Olivia broke up, he had been a wreck. So much of a wreck that a medical student had drunk himself into the hospital with a bleeding stomach. His roommate had complained to me outside the hospital room. They say graduation season is breakup season. It's so true. We're already so busy with our combined master's and PhD program. She's graduating, and he still has to stay up all night helping her with her work reports. And her. She said she was sick on the weekend and needed to rest. He crossed half the city to see her. And what did he find? She was celebrating a male colleague's birthday. You can't be like her. You know, people who betray a sincere heart will not have a good end. At the time, I didn't know the whole story and couldn't judge. But the image of him lying in the hospital bed, his face pale, his eyes half closed, had stayed with me. So, it wasn't that he didn't have emotions. It was just that his great joys and sorrows were not shared with me. I wiped my eyes. It was 2:30 p.m. There was still a long time until 9. I started packing and contacted a moving company. I had always thought that since this was a rental, I should be restrained in what I bought. But as I packed, I found I had accumulated a lot of things. Stuffed animals I had won, a woven rose I had bought on a whim, and a pair of couples mugs with our faces on them. All of them went into the trash. At 8:30, after handing my boxes to the moving company, I saw that I had 2 missed calls from him and a text message. Harper, maybe you should calm down. I could almost see his cold eyes as he typed that message. He probably thought I was deliberately ignoring his calls, playing some childish, petulant game. Without hesitation, I blocked his number. It rained continuously on the day I moved. A fine, persistent drizzle that was more annoying than a downpour. But the next day, the sun came out. I took it as a good sign. It meant I was finally out of a damp, suffocating relationship. The road ahead would be bright and sunny. His call came at noon the next day. It was an unknown number. When I answered, I recognized his voice. Harper, where are you? He got straight to the point. I clutched my phone. I told you yesterday. We're breaking up. Harper, there was an emergency last night. I didn't get home until 1. And you had blocked me. It took me a second to realize he was explaining why he had only called now. I said, oh, thinking he didn't have to. I knew he was busy, that he could be called away at any moment. That's why I had always been so understanding, waiting for him without a word of complaint. But I didn't have to wait anymore. I don't agree with your reason for breaking up. If you're tired, you can tell me. If it's because of the trip, we can reschedule. Harper, come back. Let's talk in person. His voice on the other end was still steady. I chuckled. Reschedule. To when? After Olivia has fully recovered. Jack, that's not rescheduling. That's me, unilaterally, submitting to your arrangements. He was stunned. After a long moment, he said in a low voice, that's not it. I cut him off. Jack, you wanted a reason, right? Let me ask you, do you love me? Do you love me more than you love Olivia? If you do, then why do you keep making me suffer for her? His voice was suddenly urgent, laced with a faint helplessness. Olivia is a patient. I am a doctor. This is my duty. Harper, I can't just stand by and watch a life slip away. If the love you want has to be placed above a life, then I'm sorry. I finally laughed out loud. Jack, you see, I asked you 3 questions, and the first thing you did was defend Olivia. Ask yourself, do you really love me? Since she reappeared, have you ever once considered my feelings? The other end of the line went silent, so I continued. Even when I suggested breaking up, all you could say was for me to calm down. Jack, if your love will only ever bring me disappointment and pain, then I've already made up my mind. I don't want it. A long silence hung between us. I could hear his breathing grow heavy, his usually steady voice now laced with a clear turmoil. He spoke with great difficulty. I'm sorry, Harper. I hung up. He didn't contact me again after that. I think he probably understood, since he couldn't let go of Olivia, and she was back by his side. My departure was, in a way, a kindness to them both. Perhaps I should have left a long time ago. I started looking for a new place online, but I couldn't find anything I liked. But then I saw an ad for a travel agency. Semporna was having a big sale for the off-season. For the same price as my original booking, I could get a room upgrade and several free water activities. The only catch was that the trip was 2 weeks earlier. I was a freelance artist, so my schedule was flexible. There was no reason not to take advantage of such a good deal. I quickly changed my booking, and just like that, I was off. The off-season travel experience was wonderful. The scenery was beautiful, and there were few people. But on the last night of my trip, after 2 weeks of silence, he called again. Harper, I've transferred Olivia to another doctor. I'll go on the trip with you as planned. I was wrong before. Please give me another chance. Let me make it up to you. His voice was heavy, so low it was almost a sob. I suddenly remembered my first snorkeling experience a few days ago. Schools of fish danced among the coral, and the sunlight pierced the water, creating a shimmering, ethereal world. It was a beauty that was beyond words, a beauty that brought tears to my eyes. But Jack, I'm already in Semporna. His breath hitched. I said softly, the travel agency had a promotion, and my schedule was free, so I changed my booking. I had actually known Jack long before Olivia. We were high school classmates. He was a year ahead of me. At the freshman orientation, he had given a speech as an outstanding senior. He was as handsome as a jade carving, as elegant as a pine tree. In just a few minutes, he had captured the hearts of half the freshman girls. I was rebellious and fearless back then. I had chased him for half a semester, cornering him for his number, watching his basketball games, but I had made no progress. It wasn't until the midterm exams of my second semester that my grades plummeted. My homeroom teacher finally called my parents, but in front of all the other teachers. My mother had screamed at me, saying I was just like my father, that I had his lowly, despicable blood in my veins. She had pointed a finger at me and sneered. All you can think about is boys, isn't it? Why are you so cheap? Your father is out with other women, and you have to be just as shameless. My teacher was clearly taken aback. She had tried to stand in front of me, but it was no use. The hallway was already filled with curious students. The next day, during lunch, I was about to take a nap when I heard someone call my name. He stood in the doorway of our classroom, silhouetted against the light. Harper. I didn't move. He called my name again. Harper. Amidst the teasing of my classmates, I went to him. Harper. Want to make a bet? I was confused. He smiled. Get into the top 100 on the next monthly exam, and I'll go to that movie you mentioned with you. Are you kidding me? I'm in the 300s right now. In a month. Are you scared? Who's scared? I retorted instinctively. His smile deepened. I'll be waiting. I don't know why he had suddenly decided to make a bet with me, but on the next exam, I was 92nd. On the day the results were posted, he came to find me as promised. I had actually forgotten which movie I had mentioned, so I just pointed to a random one. It was a romance. I think. I wasn't very interested. I glanced at him, and his sharp profile came into view. I quickly looked away. Fortunately, he was focused on the screen and didn't notice. After the movie, I suggested we go for bubble tea, shopping, and to the arcade. His lips curved into a smile. A date. That's a different price. What do you mean? Next month's final exams. Top 50. Hey, don't push your luck. It was hard enough to get into the top 100. How am I supposed to get into the top 50? He said slowly. It might be hard for others, but you, Harper, can do it. I looked at him. He suddenly took out a pen and paper from his pocket, scribbled down a string of numbers, and handed it to me. Didn't you want my number? If you have any questions, you can ask me. Compile them once a week. At least 5 questions each time. Otherwise, I won't answer. I had thought about his motives many times, even suspecting that he might have a crush on me. So, on the day he graduated, I asked him, a little shyly, Jack, do you like me? Actually, He choked on a sip of water and then, with lightning speed, shoved a stack of notebooks into my arms. Study hard, and you'll get better every day. That was a gentle rejection, but I wasn't sad. I've seen your middle school exam scores, and I know you won several competition gold medals in your 3rd year. So, Harper, in the second half of your freshman year, you let your grades slip, and you made a big show of chasing after me. He hesitated, and I froze. In my freshman year, my mother had discovered my father's affair. They had fought terribly, both of them engaged in a tug-of-war, each trying to hurt the other. I was at my wit's end and had resorted to a self-destructive, enemy-wounding tactic to try to win back their love. Strangely enough, my parents still got a divorce. But after I regained my top 3 ranking, they had, uncharacteristically, started to care about me again. They even secretly competed to see who was better to me, who I was closer to. It seems you can't keep those who want to leave. And I gradually understood that no matter the circumstances, if I bloomed, the butterflies would come. Harper, see you in college. The June sunset was golden, the evening glow tinting the young man's handsome face. My heart skipped a beat. An indescribable feeling welled up inside me. Jack, see you in college. I endured a grueling senior year, my heart full of hope, and finally boarded the train north in September. But Jack, what about see you in college? Jack's perspective. When Harper broke up with him, Jack was stunned for a few seconds. 1,000 voices screamed in his head. But when he opened his mouth, they all fell silent. He glanced at his watch. There was still over an hour until his surgery. It was better not to say anything. Emotional turmoil before surgery was a major taboo. It was not only irresponsible to the patient, but also disrespectful to life. No matter how big the problem, it could wait. The moment he came out of the operating room, he called her. No answer. He rushed to a meeting, and then called again. Still no answer. A sense of unease crept into his heart. Maybe she was really angry this time. But he frowned, just as he was about to pack up and go find her. A nurse rushed in, saying there was an emergency. So he quickly sent her a text. He regretted it the moment he sent it. She was not one to play the silent treatment, nor did she ever threaten to break up. This was the first time. Perhaps it wasn't she who needed to calm down. Sure enough, at 1 in the morning, when he finally got home, the fear that had been gnawing at him all day finally hit him. The closet was empty, the trinkets on the windowsill gone. His throat tightened. He felt like a fish out of water, gasping for air. He instinctively went to the kitchen for a glass of water. On the cup rack, only one mug remained, the one with his face on it, hanging there, alone. His fingers trembled. He fumbled with his phone several times before he could find her name and dial. She was so cruel. She was gone. And she had blocked him. Not even a proper goodbye. He had told her to wait for him. Why? She had waited for him on the sofa so many times, falling asleep. Why couldn't she wait just a few hours this time? He lay down on the bed, his steps heavy, but he stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next day, at noon, he finally got a chance to borrow a colleague's phone. But the conversation did not go well. He was speechless at every one of her questions. It felt like a blunt knife was slowly, methodically, cutting into his heart. A nurse came to say that the patient in room 1707 was complaining of discomfort and asked if he could take a look. 1707 was Olivia. He rubbed his brow and walked to her room. She was lying in bed, watching a drama, laughing. Jack. She was clearly in a good mood and held out her tablet. Look at this show. It's hilarious. Haha. Where are you feeling unwell? He stood by the door. She pouted. Oh, don't be so serious. You're so tired every day. I just wanted you to take a break. As for not feeling well, I think I have a stomachache and a headache. What should I do? Jack. He pressed his lips together and started to look through her hospital records. She was recovering well. All her vitals were within range, with only a few minor fluctuations. Are you taking your medication? What about your diet? She suddenly jumped out of bed, barefoot, picked up a lunchbox from the nightstand, and held a piece of broccoli to his lips. She was not happy. Look at this. A bland diet. A bland diet. I'm practically a herbivore. Is this even food for humans? I don't care. Jack, can you take me out for spicy crab tonight? You know it's my favorite. He subtly took a step back. A wave of annoyance washed over him. He was not a naive young man. He understood her body language. Jack's perspective. How did they break up? Olivia wanted companionship, romance, and emotional validation. She held her head high. Jack, you can have your lab. You can't give me anything. You're too busy to even say goodnight. Why are you wasting my time? Is a male colleague not a colleague? It was just a birthday party. And what right do you have to criticize me? You've been flirting with your little junior, haven't you? An image flashed in his mind. Harper. She had come to see him a few times when she first arrived in a city. But after she saw him with Olivia, she had never come again. The only time she had contacted him was during a holiday. Her train was very late, and she had sent him a message, asking if he could pick her up from the subway station. The path from the station to the university was known to be dangerous. And for that one incident, Olivia had mocked him relentlessly. In that moment, he had given up on the relationship. He was young then and had been sincere in his feelings. A drunken night later, and it was over. Olivia had actually tried to reconcile later. She had brought him a cake to the medical school, hinting at getting back together. But he was unmoved. She had thrown the cake on the ground. Her eyes red. "You think I don't know? That bitch was bringing you food every day when you were in the hospital. You've been hooking up with her, haven't you? Fine. I'll go. I'll make way for you too." He was stunned. He had been in the hospital for 2 weeks. His roommate had brought him food twice. After that, it was delivered daily. But he had always thought his roommate had ordered it for him. Harper was just a recent graduate then. His roommate scratched his head. That little girl said takeout wasn't healthy. She was an intern and not very busy, so making an extra portion of food was no trouble. Oh, and she said you had a girlfriend and she didn't want to cause any trouble, so she asked me to deliver it. Come to think of it, she still owes me a big dinner for that. He suddenly remembered the night he had taken her back to school. The sparse starlight and the tears in her eyes. She had said it was just the wind, but it was a clear, calm night. That single, unintentional tear had finally, after all this time, seared his heart. "Well, Jack, I promise. If I have spicy crab, I'll be good and take my medicine every day." Her sweet, cloying voice was clearly overstepping. His gaze fell on her hand, clutching his sleeve. Her intentions were not hard to guess. When they broke up, he was just a busy medical student. Now, he was the most respected young doctor in a city. She had always been one to chase after what was beneficial. She was not the silly girl Harper was, to have endured the long night, only to turn and leave at the first light of dawn. He closed his eyes, a self-deprecating smile on his face. He had always prided himself on saving lives, yet he had personally wounded a sincere heart so deeply. When he opened his eyes again, his usual cold and distant demeanor had returned. "According to my report, you're fine. From today on, you can see a general practitioner for your follow-ups. You don't need to see me." She stared at him in disbelief. He neatly pulled his sleeve from her grasp. "If you have a stomachache, go to internal medicine. If your stomach hurts, get an endoscopy. If you don't follow a doctor's orders, no one can save you. And I'm very busy. I hope you will not waste any more medical resources." She was stunned. After a long moment, she cried out, "Jack, how dare you refuse me? I can see whichever doctor I want. Do you know that I can report you for this?" He suddenly smiled, but his eyes were cold. "Is that so? Then be my guest." After returning from Symphorna, I received a call from a real estate agent. "Miss Ching, the house you and Mr. Shin purchased is expected to be delivered next month. You are welcome to come and inspect it." Last year, when Jack and I were planning our wedding, we had bought this house as our marital home. Although only my name was on the contract, he had paid for it. I had held out my savings book and told him that I had also saved some money and could contribute to our future. He must have been in a good mood then, as he had even joked, "Good, now that I'm penniless, it's the perfect time to be a kept man." I gave his number to the agent. She was hesitant. "Miss Ching, we can only hand over the property to the person named on the contract. To change the name, you will need to go to the property bureau after you receive the deed." He had a good income in recent years, and this house was paid for in full. But now that we had broken up, we had to be financially independent. I called him. He answered almost immediately, but after I explained the situation, he was silent for a long time. Finally, he said in a low voice, "Harper, are you in such a hurry to draw a line between us?" I was confused. He sighed. "I'm a little busy. Let's not rush this." The agent called me a few more times, so I had to go and take care of the paperwork myself. As I was doing so, a thought occurred to me. The money I hadn't spent last year could now be used to buy my own place. I excitedly started looking for a house. It seemed my luck had turned. I soon found a small, 2-bedroom apartment with a small garden. The money I had was just enough for a down payment, with some left over for renovations. On the day I signed the contract, I was so happy that I chatted with the owner for a bit. "I can plant roses in this garden and put up a swing. Then I can paint while basking in the sun." The owner was also a young man, over 6 feet tall, with sharp features and well-defined muscles on his forearms. He raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like a dream home. Oh, you can paint. Are you an art teacher?" "No." I was in a good mood and showed him some of my previous work on my phone. His eyes lit up. You're a concept artist. My apologies. I was a little embarrassed, but he was very excited. I'm developing a new game. That's actually why I'm selling the house. I was wondering if I could have the honor of working with you. Then he whispered, it's just a startup, so I can't offer you the same salary as the big game companies you've worked with, but you can come and see my studio first. Our game design is really amazing. On a whim, I agreed. After a few more meetings, I learned that his name was Sean. He had graduated from one of the top computer science programs in the country and was now working with a few like-minded friends to develop their own game. On the day Sean and I reached an agreement, we ran into someone on the way home. Olivia. She stood a short distance away, a playful smile on her face as she looked at Sean and me. She was naturally beautiful. And now, after her illness, she had a fragile, delicate air about her. You're amazing, Harper, she said with a smirk. Dating a new man on one hand, and keeping your old flame on a string on the other. Such a master of the game. Sean frowned and was about to say something, but I stopped him. I looked at her, trying to understand where all this hostility was coming from. But no matter where it came from, I wasn't going to take it. When it comes to keeping an old flame on a string, who can compare to you, Miss Gu? Come to think of it, the only reason you're standing here today, spouting nonsense, is because of your ex. He's a miracle worker, isn't he? Her face went pale. You, I sneered. What? Now that you're better, you have the energy to cause trouble again. I suggest you go back to bed. Don't waste Jack's efforts. She gritted her teeth, glared at me, and then turned and left. His car arrived not even 15 minutes later. He parked haphazardly on the side of the road and walked towards us. Sean stroked his chin thoughtfully, then said, "Oh, Harper. Jack called my name." I looked up at him. It had been a while. He was much thinner. His usual cool and elegant demeanor now tinged with a hint of weariness. Who is he? His gaze fell on the person beside me. His eyes filled with an unreadable emotion. I answered honestly. My client. Sean glanced at me. Jack's brow relaxed. He reached out to take my hand, but Sean blocked him. You, a client, seem to be overstepping your bounds. Jack sneered. Sean raised an eyebrow. Whether I'm overstepping or not is debatable, but you, an ex-boyfriend, are definitely out of line. He immediately clenched his fists. I quickly motioned for Sean to leave. Jack offered to take me home, but I declined. His Adam's apple bobbed. His eyes filled with a deep pain. Harper, do we have to be so distant? My heart ached for a moment, but that was all. When are you free? We need to transfer the title of your house to you. I got straight to the point, but he seemed not to hear me. Harper, I was wrong before. I will change. I will put loving you first. I will love you as you once loved me. Harper, don't go. Okay. He suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace, his face buried in my neck, his body trembling. I pushed him away. The dim streetlight cast a pale glow on his face. I saw the tears in his eyes. Harper, you loved me for 10 years. How can you just let me go? I looked him in the eye and said, slowly and deliberately, if someone were to break their leg and not get proper treatment, and it was left to fester until the bone rotted, what should they do to save themselves? Jack, you're a doctor. You tell me. The color drained from his face. He closed his eyes in despair. When he opened them again, they were filled with a boundless sadness and helplessness. Amputation. Yes, I smiled. Loving you, for me, is the same. After that night, it seemed that Jack and I had truly drifted apart. He didn't come to see me again, but he never responded about the house. I didn't know what he was planning, so I just mailed him the key. I started to spend a lot of time on Sean's game. They were a group of passionate young people, all working towards a common dream. When I was with Jack, he wouldn't let me stay up late to draw, but now, I was addicted to the thrill of it. I would work so late even I was scared of myself. On the day I finished the environment art, Sean forced me to shut down my computer. Hey, what if I hadn't saved? I rolled my eyes. He just smiled. Little Harper, I'm taking a break today, so you have to too. I hate it when people secretly work harder than me. That afternoon, I passed a flower market and impulsively bought a large bag of rose seeds. I thought, my garden can finally begin. But after just a few shovels of dirt, I got a frantic call from Sean. Little Harper, Your ex is going crazy. Come quick. I rushed over. Fortunately, it wasn't far, just a nearby mall. When I got there, I saw Sean, his face bruised, leaning against a wall. A pretty, long-haired girl was with him. Jack was standing a short distance away, a bruise on the corner of his lip. Little Harper, you're finally here. You have to stand up for me. I was just shopping, and your ex, like a madman, just came up and punched me. Ouch! He clutched his forehead, his face a mask of grief. He hit me in the face. How am I supposed to show my face in public now? Woo woo woo. I took a closer look at his face. He had a bruise around one eye, making him look a bit like a panda. I couldn't help but laugh. Sean wailed. I'm going to sue him. That bastard. Woo woo woo. Jack snorted. Harper, you see now. He's cheating on you. Going on dates with other girls. Doesn't a scumbag like that deserve a beating? I'm not. Sean started to explain, but Jack cut him off. Not what? You're driving her around every day, and you're also dating other girls. Are you telling me you're not playing with her feelings? How do you know I'm driving her around every day? Sean asked, confused. I also looked at Jack. He turned his head and said nothing. Sean gritted his teeth and pulled the girl beside him forward. This is my cousin. My actual, blood-related cousin. I just asked her to help me pick out a gift. Little Harper, don't listen to your ex's lies. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I went into the mall and bought some iodine and alcohol and asked his cousin to help him apply it. When I handed the medicine to Jack, he didn't move. I sighed and turned to leave. He quickly grabbed my arm. Harper, I wasn't deliberately following you. Don't be angry. I'm leaving a city soon, so I just wanted to see you a few more times. He saw the surprise in my eyes and explained with a smile. The Western region is short of medical resources. There's a support program, and I volunteered. I'll be gone for 3 to 5 years. Harper, don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. I've thought about it a lot. Since you're not here, I might as well go somewhere far away and do something meaningful. I was filled with a mixture of emotions and could only say, take care. On the eve of Sean's game's public beta, I received a postcard from the Northwest. A vast expanse of yellow sand, with a crescent moon spring nestled within. Sean raised an eyebrow and sighed, his long fingers tracing the spring on the postcard. TSK, TSK, TSK. In gaming, there are 2 kinds of skills that are the hardest to dodge. One with a super long windup, and one with a 0-frame startup. It seems this ex-boyfriend of yours first had a super long windup romance. And now, who knows how many years it will take for him to recover from someone's 0-frame startup departure. I rolled my eyes, took the postcard back, and stuck it in a book. I had long since understood. Anyone would look beautiful under a cherry blossom tree. My love, given to anyone, would be passionate. It wasn't that he was good. It was that I was. Sean was still chattering on behind me. Little Harper, don't be so angry. By the way, our game is about to go into public beta. When are you going to show me your rose garden?